Very good afternoon to all. Thank you, Dr. Jethani, for giving me this opportunity. I do not have any financial interest in the products which are displayed in this talk. Why is management in small angle strabismus important? Firstly, it may be temporary, like in cases of consecutive squints and paralytic squints, where we need a waiting period of at least 4 months to 6 months before we manage surgically. Second is, though it's a small angle, the problem of diplopia is huge and inconvenient to the patient, and there are surgical overcorrections noted with routine recess resect procedures. So the treatment options that I'll be covering is prisms and injections. What are prisms? These are wedge-shaped glass objects which refract light towards the base. Light enters from the air into the glass medium, bends towards the base, and so the apex shifts towards the image shifts towards the apex. So when we say 40 prism diopters, we actually mean that the angle is being bent by 20 degrees. We all know that lenses which we give to our patients are a fusion of prisms. Plus lenses are two bays touching each other. Minus lenses are two apex touching each other. When we see a good centered lens, we see the optical center, which is the area where there is no refraction taking place, which is equal to the MRP, or the maximal resolution point, and this should correspond to the interpupillary distance. So if your maximal resolution point is somewhere away from the optical center, this distance can induce prismatic effect. According to the Prentice rule, prismatic effect induced is equal to the diopter of the lens multiplied by the decentration, which takes place into millimeters upon 10. So if you have a 6 diopter of lens and 2 millimeter of decentration, you can induce 1.2 prism diopters. So if the thicker lenses are there and more decentration is done, we can even induce higher prisms. We can even incorporate prisms into glasses, but they end up being permanent. Permanent in sense that we can't change it every month. They are heavy and they're expensive. The alternate is Fresnel lenses. On the left, what you see is the first order lighthouse, which was prepared from multiple glass Fresnel lenses. The same principle was applied in ophthalmology, where we removed the non-ophthalmic portion or non-refractive portion, kept only the refracting part arranged in concentric rings, and formed thin 1 millimeter Fresnel lenses. These can be stuck on the back of the glasses like this, and the smooth portion can be stuck on the back surface of your glass. The advantages are it's an optical grade vinyl chloride, so the clarity is pretty much better. It's lightweight, it's cheaper than glass prisms. It can be temporary, that is, you can change according to changing deviation, and you can give it either in upper or down portion of the glass when patient has near distance disparity. The disadvantages is visible lines which make it visible to the world. Contrast falls, optical aberrations are induced. There may be dust collection on the back side of those ridges, air pockets collecting between the glass and the Fresnel, and in patients who do not wear glasses, it is difficult to introduce them to Fresnel in glasses. While prescribing prisms in horizontal deviations, we can do the measurements and either give according to patient's comfort, or we can follow certain criteria. So for this, we need to measure the positive fusional vergence, that is by keeping increasing values of base out prisms in front of each eye, and measuring the blur point, break point, and recovery point, and also measure the negative fusional vergence, that's a divergent fusion, when we put increasing values of base in prisms in front of both eyes. Sheard's criteria is the first criteria, which says that you have 2/3 of your foria, you deduct 1/3 for the compensating fusional reserve. For example, if a patient has 12 prism diopters of exophoria and a compensatory positive fusional vergence is 6, according to the formula, you can give 6 prisms to the patient. Perceval criteria is better in patients who have microesotropias, and it says that the comfort zone is in the middle third of the vergence range. So this is the formula that they prescribe. According to the positive fusion vergence, negative fusion vergence give the highest value minus the lowest value. In vertical heterophorias, because we have very less vertical fusional reserve, we usually need to give the total amount of prisms as therapeutic treatment. There is a lot of studies done by this group, Tamhankar et al., who have seen the effectiveness of prisms in various etiologies. One of them being fourth nerve palsy, where they say that in acquired fourth nerve palsy, usually prisms are fully corrected, whereas in congenital, because of the larger vertical fusional reserve, 73% of total deviation can be given in form of prisms. Rest is taken care of by the virgins. We can deal with concomitants by giving the prisms on the lower part of executive bifocal glasses to take care of the concomitants in down gaze. When we give prisms, please remember that if you give two base down prisms, you are nullifying the prismatic effect. We have to give base down with base up. Even when we give horizontal prisms, base in with base out forms yoke prisms, which has ultimately no prismatic effect. You either have to give two base in or two base out for additional effect. There are a lot of patients where we have vertical with horizontal deviations, and in these patients, if it's a horizontal deviation is less, you either do horizontal fusional exercises along with vertical prisms, or give horizontal prisms in one eye along with vertical prism in the other eye, but then both eyes contrast falls and vision falls. The third option is giving oblique prisms. Now, I have taken this nomogram from Dr. Kenneth Wright's book, where the x-axis has horizontal deviation, y-axis has vertical deviation. If your patient has 10 prisms of vertical with 10 prisms of horizontal, the joining point falls here, with the nearest semicircular arc here is 15. Draw a line from 0 to the angle, so we have a correction of prism, 15 prism diopters, base in with base down at 45 degrees. Easier way was said by Dr. Scott et al. In his paper, which says higher power plus half of a lower power. So for example, if you have 10 prisms of ESO with 15 prisms of hypo, higher is 15, 15 plus half of 10, so 20 prism diopters, and give it base out with base up and start rotating the prism to give a subjective satisfaction to your patient. So take home for prisms is first correct the refractive error. Though small, it can really help take care of asthenopic symptoms. Do monocular occlusion for 45 minutes to take out the complete phoria. Use minimal power for patients' diplopia to be reduced. Try to keep his fusional virgins to take over. Give extended office trial. This will always help, and if possible, give home trial. Try to give prisms on one side. If the patient is already using higher refractive error glass, try to give prisms in the form of decentration. And bifocal lenses, use half lenses, which are easier to fit prisms. Are there any more solutions? We have injections, botulinum toxin A. In this talk, I'll be referring to it as Botox, though is a trade name, and bupivacaine. Botulinum toxin, these gram-positive anaerobic bacilli release exotoxins which are neurotoxic, and one of them is botulinum toxin A, which is used in ophthalmology. It's not a new drug. The first series was by Dr. Alan Scott in 1980, and recently in 2012 we had a Cochrane database reviewing all papers on the use of botulinum toxin in strabismology. Mechanism of action, this is the neuromuscular junction where we have vesicles. They release the acetylcholine, which goes and joins the receptor on the muscle end, and therefore the muscle contracts. Botulinum toxin prevents the release of this acetylcholine from the vesicles. This paper by Ripley et al. Done in use of botulinum toxin in small angle strabismus, they found acute onset and acquired esotropia had better effect. Primary esotropes had better effect than primary exotropes. Consecutive exotropia, they said this was the treatment of choice, and it had a very important role to play in decompensated heterophoria, where it gives your patient a period to lock in, where his fusional virgins will take over and heterophorias can be compensated for. Similar paper done by Bansal et al. And decompensated squint said that 50% of the patients got cured with botulinum toxin over a period of 18 months. It has a very big role to play in residual esotropia. Tejetor et al. Did study in primary esotropias, primary acquired esotropias, that is esotropia after 1 year of age, where they had failed bimedial recessions, and they randomized these patients to resurgery versus Botox, and for 3 years follow-up they had comparable results with both groups. They said that Botox works even better if you inject it for, within 3 months of your first surgery. In 6-nerve palsy, as expected, it has better results in paresis, where there is some amount of lateral rectus function still remaining. Metz et al. Said that in acute 6-nerve palsy, they had very good recovery, and also patients who did not recover completely still develop better fusional potential, which could be used. Does Botox affect the final recovery in 6-nerve palsy? To study this, Lee et al. Gave injections in 22 patients and had 25 control patients, and over a period of 2 years, both these patients had equal amount of recovery. Injection technique, we do not have electromyograph available in most of the places, so we can even do injection directly into the muscle. Rhinoplasty surgeons and plastic surgeons. Bupivacaine is a classic example where a problem was turned into a solution. There were a lot of papers which said that retrobulbar injections of bupivacaine was causing strabismus, and this was studied, and it found that the mechanism of action was bupivacaine was used in treating strabismus. How does it act? It causes release of calcium from sarcoplasmic reticulum. Increased calcium in the cytoplasm damages the myocytes, which are stronger muscle. 0.5 to 3% solution can be used. 3 to 5 ml is usually injected, and it diffuses poorly, so multiple injections may be required throughout the muscle. Alan Scott et al. Had a series of cases where they injected bupivacaine in esotropia as well as exotropia, and they found good stability over 12 to 14 months. Atrophic muscles, which had studied this combination, and they found that over 158 days there were 20 prism diopters improvement in exotropia, which was almost double that which was reported with only bupivacaine. Bulk increase was also seen by MRI. Surgical intervention will be dealt later. So the crux is measure with patients. Start using prisms in practice. It's not as difficult as it sounds, and buy time with injections. Thank you.